Good morning, good morning. Saturday morning, and this is the first Saturday I've had off. Well, the first full weekend I'm going to have off too since New Year's. Um, I needed it. It's hard to slow down when you know there's so much to be done and so many goals to accomplish, and but it's good. I was getting really tired, and I needed just a couple nights of a full night's sleep. I usually only get about 6 hours sleep, not because I want it, because that's all that's left in my day. After we drive to Nashville and back, which is about a 4 hour round trip, do my job, then try to get a few things done at home. And there's nothing I love more than spending time with my wife. So we try to make a little time every day to hang out. So that's good. I heard something the other day that really triggered my thought process, and it's something that me and you both need to hear, because it's hard sometimes, and this subject will take many forms. And it's that not everybody will go with you into the next season of your life. I want to point out, first of all, that Jesus said that we are to abide in him and he will abide in us, that he was the vine and we are the branches. And a branch that doesn't abide in him, it's useless. It's thrown away and burned in the fire. And that was meant to be an illustration of people. If you're not willing to abide in the Lord, then you have no long-term value, because you were created to come to know him and become like him. And it also says in the scripture in Romans that God knew his people in advance and he chose them to become like his son. That is your purpose. And there's a reason why Jesus always said, if you've got ears to hear, listen. He's talking to a specific people, those who felt the call on their life to come out of what they're in. They knew they were created for something different. They don't know what it was. I used to have that feeling many years, just knowing there was something more that was supposed to be in my life. And I thought it was a certain job, a certain whatever, and it never made sense to me. Then many years later, the Lord came calling. I don't know that I went looking for him. It says that he knows his people and he calls us out of this world. And he did me. Man, he changed my life. I have never felt so useless, according to the world, most of my life, or of no value. Then all of a sudden the Lord shows up in my life, and in a way that only that I would know 100% was God. He shows up, communicates with me, and conveys that everything that I was ever looking for would only be found in him, and that I had value to him. So in the most imperfect of ways, I've tried for over 20 years to abide in him, because I don't want to be one of those useless branches that are thrown away and burned later. No. So let's talk about the pruning process, because he says that if we'll abide in him, he's going to prune you so you bear more fruit. Your time on earth, if you abide in the Lord, will be a time of pruning. There'll be seasons in your life. There'll be joy and there'll be mourning. There'll be good times. There's going to be hard times. And you've got to learn to find something positive to proclaim to the Lord in the midst of the worst of times. Something to be grateful about. Convey it, voice it in the midst of your pain. That's the way I've learned to pray, because my Bible taught me that. In the midst of your hardest times, you've got to cling on to the fact that God's character is good, and oftentimes his ways are painful. He says that all things work together for the good of those, for the good, for your good, of those that love him and are called according to his purpose. Not all things are good. They work together for the good because they're working something in you. Pruning is by definition purposeful pain. It's pain that's inflicted on purpose. There are things and people who will be cut out of your life, but you've got to have the right attitude about trusting God in this. Pruning's painful. Not everybody will go with you into the next season of your life. Certain people around us are there for a season, but we will never achieve our full potential of what God has for you or for me until certain people are removed and you continue on your journey. Look, the story of Moses and Joshua. Moses, it says in the Bible that there was never another prophet in all of Israel like Moses. Yet he was not permitted to carry the people of Israel into the promised land. He fulfilled everything he was supposed to, but that was it. There was a man chosen for that job, and his name was Joshua. As painful as it was for Joshua, Moses had to be removed out of his life. His death had to come. His time had to end for Joshua to step into his role to fulfill his potential. So sometimes that pruning, that removing of people they'll be removed. They were there, now they're not there. Sometimes it'll be through deaths. It's not that the person that died is being punished or anything like that. It's time for a new season for you. There may have been a ceiling on your life, on your business, on your personal life, and someone passes away and it causes you to have to step into a new role, to become greater in the Lord's eyes. Remember, what he calls great looks low. It's servitude, it's humility. But he wants to do great things while you possess those qualities and have those qualities increased in your life. A true righteous man is a man who will always stand for what is right and be against what is wrong, no matter who is offended, no matter who does not like him. There is no gray area. There is only what the Lord calls right and what the Lord calls wrong. And you coming into agreement with the Lord on this, leaning not on your own understanding. You know, Joshua was told, he said, study the book of my instructions continually and meditate on it. And you'll be sure to prosper in everything you do. The Lord told him that his number one command for him was to be strong, be courageous, and know that I will be with you wherever you go. Even if you don't sense God and don't feel God, God's telling him, I'm going to be with you. But your job is to study my character through my word. And when you know my character, you know you can depend on me. You know that at the last moment, at the right time, I show up and I'll rescue you because you're mine and you're in my hands. And you have a purpose that I'm going to accomplish through you. But your number one purpose is that you become like my son. So I've seen this in my own life. I've actually had the Lord show me about 8 years ago that there was someone he brought into my life. He first showed me that person in a dream 3 weeks before I met him, that he was going to be instrumental in my life. And when I met him, the dream flashed back to me that I'd seen this person in the dream, and I knew the Lord was putting his little stamp on that. So I knew it was okay to move in that direction. That person was in my life for a while, still friends with him to this day. But then there was a new season, a move being made in my life when the Lord showed me that there wasn't room. In this dream, there was this trailer, and my car fit on it, and there was no way to fit his car on it. The Lord was showing me, look, he's not going to be going with you into this season. He was there for a little bit. He was instrumental. But now I want to separate you where you have to depend on me. Because, see, we become dependent upon people, and the Lord wants us dependent upon Him. He'll bring the help, but we'll start to focus our attention on being dependent on the help and not on God. We all do it. I've done it many times, and I recognize when I'm becoming dependent. So I've seen this happen in different ways in my life. I have seen that once I look back and realize that people in my life that have passed away and died, that there was a switch in me that had happened because of they being removed out of my life at that time. It caused me to have to step up to a different level of being a man. A different progression in my life of maturity, whether it be in my personal life, my integrity, or my business. The Lord's taken me somewhere new. So I just wanted to talk to you about the character of God, the way He does things, and the pruning process. People being removed for your life. There's some of you that have not even scratched the surface of your calling, your purpose, or your potential. And the Lord's having to remove somebody out of your life, because without it, it's not saying they're bad and you're good, because it could be that both of you are equally in the same spots, but with two people together, they might be their own two worst enemies, and you'll never step into your calling. The Lord's calling you. I really feel like there's somebody this was for. This hit me hard a couple of days ago. I hadn't done a video in a week, and I didn't even know what to say when I pushed record, but I knew the Lord wanted something said along these lines. The pruning process had to happen. It's painful. Don't be focused on the being hurt, mad externally or towards the other person, but Lord, what are you doing in my life? Just say yes to Him. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts, but He has expressed His purpose for creating you, that you'd become like His Son. And He already knows those that are gonna respond and those who ain't. And He's focused on pruning you, shaping you, molding you. He says that He works like a blacksmith does. When a blacksmith heats iron, he gets it hot, molten, and then he has to bang it into what he wants. He forms it into that weapon, to that tool. And that's the way a lot of times we're pruned. It's through heat, extreme heat, and then pounding, pressure from the outside that shapes and molds us into something. We can get bitter, we can get mad, or we can accept God's ways of doing it and letting it shape and mold us. Anyway, I think I better stop right there. I love you guys, though. Sorry it's been about a week for the handful of you guys that seem to get something out of these. I do. It helps me process my thoughts, and it causes me to have to be in my Bible and read. And before I ever hit record every morning, I ask the Lord, what do you want to say to me that somebody else might benefit from? I know first you want to talk to Dwayne personally about his life, about changing him into the image of your Son. But then there's somebody out there too that's going through it, just like I am, that will need to benefit from this. Hey, love you guys. There's one thing that I like. I don't even know where I read it a minute ago. Oh, here might be your role. Because God tells Joshua, you're going to lead the people of Israel into the promised land. And He says, look, you're strong warriors. So some of you are these strong warriors that the Lord wants fully armed. But your job is this: once He brings you into your place, your position, He says, those leaders must lead the other tribes across the Jordan to help them conquer their territory. So your job may be helping somebody else conquer their territory. Stay with them until the Lord gives them rest. Oh boy, how many times have we helped somebody whose life is messy, and you got to stay with them, man, because you just know that this person's important to the Lord. They might be messed up. It might be their thought process. It might be drugs or alcohol. It might be financial stuff. You're there to help them, to bring them to a certain level. until the Lord gives them rest, and until they too possess the land the Lord is giving them. So the Lord may have given you success early so you will lead other people to success. That's your word for today right there, man. Love you guys. Bye-bye.